Imagine being asked to spin mountains of flax. In The Three Spinning Women, a clever girl gets some unexpected help that leads to a prince and a life free from spinning forever.
Once upon a time, in a cozy little cottage, nestled in a green valley, lived a young girl who loved to dream more than she loved to work. Her mother often tried to teach her how to spin flax, a very important skill, but the girl would simply sit idly, letting the fibers lie untouched. Her mother, though patient, eventually grew very frustrated with her daughter's constant refusal to learn. One day, after much pleading and scolding had failed, the mother, overcome with anger, gave her daughter a gentle but firm tap on the hand, urging her to begin. The unexpected touch made the girl cry out loud, her sobs echoing through the small house and even reaching the road outside. Just at that moment, the magnificent queen, in her royal carriage drawn by majestic white horses, happened to be driving by on the road. Her sharp ears caught the sound of the girl's loud weeping, and, concerned, she ordered her coachman to stop. The queen, a kind and just ruler, stepped gracefully from her carriage and walked directly to the cottage door. She gently knocked and, entering, asked the girl's mother why such sad cries could be heard so clearly from their home, even from the royal road. The girl's mother felt a blush rise to her cheeks, ashamed to admit her daughter's idle ways to the grand queen. Thinking quickly, she invented a story. "Oh, Your Majesty, I am truly sorry for the noise. It's just that my daughter loves to spin, endlessly, day and night. She insists on spinning all the time, and I am a poor woman who simply cannot afford enough flax to satisfy her tireless industry." The queen listened with an intrigued smile, her interest piqued by the mother's unusual complaint. The queen's eyes lit up with delight, for she had a great love for the sound of spinning wheels. "There is nothing I enjoy more than the hum of a spinning wheel," she declared, "and I am never happier than when I hear them busy." She made a grand offer. "Let your daughter come with me to the palace. I have more than enough flax for her to spin as much as her heart desires, and she can spend her days there spinning to her heart's content." The mother was overjoyed, thinking this a wonderful solution, and gladly agreed to let her daughter go with the queen. Arriving at the grand palace, the queen led the young girl through beautifully decorated halls and up a winding staircase. She opened the doors to 3 enormous rooms, one after another, each filled from floor to ceiling with the finest, fluffiest flax, shimmering like golden clouds. "Now, my dear," the queen announced kindly, "spin all this flax for me. When you have finished, you shall marry my eldest son, the prince, for your husband, even though you are not of noble birth." She added with a warm smile, "Your incredible industry is dowry enough, for I value hard work above all else." The girl's heart sank with a terrible fear, for she knew deep down that she could not spin even a small fraction of that flax, not even if she lived for hundreds of years, working day and night. She was secretly terrified by the queen's generous but impossible demand. As soon as she was left alone in the vast room, the brave front she had put on crumbled, and she began to weep loudly once more. For 3 whole days she sat there, grief-stricken, unable to even touch a single strand of the endless flax. On the 3rd day, the kind queen returned to check on the girl's progress. Seeing that not a single thread had been spun, she was understandably surprised. The girl, still feeling great distress, quickly explained, "Oh, Your Majesty, I am so distraught from being away from my dear mother and my humble home that I haven't been able to compose myself enough to begin." The queen, understanding and sympathetic, accepted her excuse with a gentle nod. However, as she left the room, she reminded the girl firmly, "Remember, tomorrow you must surely begin your work." Alone again, The girl sank back into deep worry, truly at a loss for what to do. Her eyes, filled with fresh tears, drifted towards the large, arched window of the room. Just then, a most peculiar sight met her gaze. 3 old women were slowly approaching the palace from the garden path below. The first had an unusually broad, flat foot that made her waddle slightly, and the second had such a great, drooping underlip that it hung far down past her chin. The third woman carried a broad, sturdy thumb, much wider than normal. They stopped right beneath her window, looking up with curious, kindly faces. The 3 women, with their kind, crinkled faces, asked the girl about her troubles, having seen her distress. The girl, desperate, poured out her heart, explaining the impossible task set by the queen. The old women listened patiently, and then, smiling knowingly, offered their help. "We will spin all this flax for you." And in a remarkably short time, they promised, "but only if you agree to 2 conditions." They continued. "You must invite us to your wedding, call us your dear aunts, never be ashamed of us, and make sure we sit with you at the royal table." "With all my heart, I promise," exclaimed the grateful girl, inviting them inside immediately. She quickly cleared a space in the first flax-filled room, and the 3 women sat down, ready to begin their extraordinary work. One woman with the broad, flat foot skillfully drew the threads from the flax and kept the spinning wheel treading rhythmically. The second woman, with the great underlip, moistened the threads with a touch. And the third, with the broad thumb, twisted the thread perfectly, then tapped the table with her thumb. Each time her thumb struck the table, a perfectly spun skein of fine, shining thread magically appeared on the floor. The clever girl carefully kept the 3 magical spinners a secret from the queen. Whenever Her Majesty came to inspect the work, the girl would proudly show her the rapidly growing piles of beautifully spun thread. The queen was absolutely delighted and praised the girl's industry endlessly, never suspecting the truth. Room by room, the mountains of flax quickly vanished, transforming into magnificent heaps of expertly spun yarn. First, the splendid first room was entirely cleared, then the second, and at last even the enormous third room was completely empty of flax, filled instead with towers of finished thread. After all the flax was spun, the 3 mysterious women took their leave, reminding the girl, "Do not forget what you promised us. It will surely make your fortune." With the rooms now empty of raw flax and filled with an impressive quantity of yarn, the maiden proudly showed her work to the queen. Overjoyed at such a colossal accomplishment, the queen immediately gave orders for the royal wedding to commence. The handsome young prince was equally thrilled, believing he was marrying such an incredibly clever and industrious bride, praising her boundless talent with much admiration. On the day of the grand wedding feast, the girl, now a beautiful bride, approached the queen and the prince. "I have 3 dear aunts," she explained sweetly, "who have been incredibly kind to me, and I would be so sad if I forgot them on this most fortunate day. May I invite them to the reception, and could they please sit with us at the royal table?" The queen and the prince, both loving and agreeable, replied, "Of course, why should we not allow that? Bring your kind aunts to the celebration." And so, as the magnificent banquet began, the 3 strange women, dressed in their peculiar but festive attire, entered the grand hall, and the bride greeted them warmly. "Welcome, dear aunts." Seeing the 3 oddly dressed women, each with their striking features, the prince could not help but feel a flicker of surprise. "My dearest," he whispered to his new wife, "how do you come by these unusual friends?" He then, driven by curiosity, walked over to the first woman, the one with the remarkably broad, flat foot. He politely asked her, "Tell me, how did you come to have such an unusually broad foot?" The kind old woman simply smiled and, without hesitation, answered, "By treading, Your Highness, by treading the spinning wheel continually." The prince, even more intrigued, then moved to the second woman, whose great underlip drooped notably. He asked her with genuine politeness, "And you, madam, how do you come to have such a remarkably falling lip?" She replied with a gentle smile, "By licking, Your Highness, by constantly licking the flax threads to keep them smooth for spinning." Finally, he turned to the third woman, asking about her particularly broad thumb. "And what about your thumb?" he inquired. "It is from twisting the thread," she explained, "continually twisting the thread, day after day, year after year." Hearing their explanations, the prince was suddenly struck by an alarming realization. He understood that excessive spinning could lead to such physical changes, and he certainly did not want his beautiful new bride, whom he loved dearly, to suffer such a fate. With great concern and affection he declared, "My beloved wife, I promise you this, neither now nor ever shall my beautiful bride ever touch a spinning wheel again." And just like that, the girl was forever freed from the dreaded, hated flax spinning, all thanks to her cleverness and the kindness of her unusual aunts. This charming tale reminds us that sometimes quick thinking can help us out of tricky situations, but it also gently hints at the value of honesty and hard work. While the girl found a clever way to avoid an unwanted task, a truly strong character is built on sincerity and facing challenges head-on. Imagine how much happier she might have been if she had learned to spin with joy, or openly expressed her dislike, rather than weaving a web of deceit. Remember, being truthful and trying your best is always the most rewarding path in the end.
Ever dreamed of being the hero? Now you get to be the star. Your adventure starts at TalesMio. Visit talesmio.com now.